Hello, people. My name is SmileDog64. It's a sentence I thought I wouldn't be saying again for a long time. Anyway, so what are we going to talk about today? What are we doing? What's the future look like? Well, Pokemon is quite a big thing. I used to enjoy it as a kid. We're back again. Except this time we're actually playing the card game, like how it's supposed to be played, instead of just collecting cards. And what I used to do as a kid was, I'm gonna swing with this with no energy attached, because I didn't understand how that worked. But now we actually learned what the game is like. I'm liking it, so now we're gonna go play it. Now, this is kind of just an introductory video. I'm going to an event on the Sunday after I record this. For context, it is Tuesday on the day of recording. I don't know when I'll upload. Anyway, beside the point. I plan to get some footage down there. Maybe not me like playing the game, because I could be considered cheating of some kind. But like I could talk about how rounds go and stuff. I've seen a couple other YouTubers do stuff like that. But now it's time for me to pick what deck I want to play down there. Because I have 3 decks made. One's more consistent than the rest, while one's more fun. The other one's more like mathy, and like you gotta think 3 turns ahead instead of just when can I, boom them? When can I get the knockout, get my prizes, and be on my merry way? So I'm gonna, introduce the decks, briefly explain them, and then by the end of it, I probably have talked myself into a decision. So our first deck we're going to talk about today is Dragapult EX. I'll probably, throw up a picture of the card just so it's up longer so people can read what it does. It's a fun deck. Kind of have the ability to put your damage counters on the bench, and you have the ability to take some pretty 3-4 prize turns, but if you get perfect setup, you might even be able to win the game based on what you have in front of you. But it's very you have to think so far into the future, you might as well just be a mind reader, right? Cards that Dragapult use commonly are like Radiant Alakazam, Lumineon, Rotom, Forest Sealstone, kind of getting their stuff active. There's also 2 variations I see. There's Dusk Noir, Pidgeot, kinda. I've seen picking between the 2. I go Dusk Noir personally because that's just more damage to put on the board and kind of fumble around with. It's probably the least played deck out of the 3 that I own because just kind of have fun with the other ones. But it's still fun nonetheless. I don't know, some games it feels really rough. I had once done a 3-hour Ditto session of Dragapult, and my hands were so garbage. I think I have a picture of my prizes from a game somewhere. I'll throw that up if I have it. If I don't, well, sorry, there's nothing there. But if all of your stuff is working, the deck is great. If you're having a hard first couple turns, maybe not. Okay, so that's Dragapult covered. Let's move on to the next one. Charizard. Again, I'll put the card up so it's easier to read. I'm more so showing the camera just so it's like, oh, I actually own these instead of me talking out of my ass. So, Charizard. Let's talk about it. It was the first deck I played on the online version of this game. And it was fun. It's how I got into the game. It's how I learned some stuff. It does suck when you run into a Dragapult who's having a really good game, because Pidgey can't live Dragapult's second ability where it can put damage counters out. Yeah, Pidgey can't live that. In other words, we can say he's cooked. Yeah. We like that terminology. Yeah, he's cooked. Pidgey is cooked if you can evolve it in time. But if you get up to turn 3 and you find a rare candy Pidgeot, you're pretty much set up. Because then you could just Pidgeot. I'll show Pidgeot on the screen. Pidgeot for another rare candy, or Pidgeot for a Zard, or Ultra Ball for this, or do that. There's multiple ways to get what you need. Then there's also some cards like Professor Turo's Scenario that I run in Charizard, where it's just like, oh, well, this dude put $300 damage on my Charizard. Let me just take it back. I've won a couple of games doing that. And then the Radiant choice in this deck is Radiant Charizard, because Charizard's whole game plan is like, start losing prize cards so you can hit harder. But if I lose prize cards, Radiant Charizard's attack becomes less and less every time. So we can swing even more damage. If I go down to one prize card, I just put a Fire Energy on the Radiant Charizard, bam, 240, I can't attack next turn. That's okay. Professor Turo's Scenario, pick up the Charizard. It's pretty easy like that. You just gotta have the right cards. But I also run like some switches and stuff too in that deck, so that's fun. But no, Charizard's fun, because if you're losing, you're actually winning. Unless you're playing against a control deck, which all of my decks struggle against, let's be fair. There's a Mimikyu card that is kind of absurd. It's like, no attack, you can't attack it with a Pokemon EX or a Pokemon V. Figure it out, loser. And since they're not really taking prizes, Radiant Charizard's kind of a pain to get enough energy to swing with. Okay, let's move on to the last deck. The deck I'm kind of leaning more towards, if I'm being honest with you. I'll probably also have pictures of like my set of 60 cards. Just because not every deck's going to be exactly the same. Well, that's not true at all. There's a lot of it. So my 60 cards aren't going to be the exact same as somebody else's. Because even just in my group of friends that play the game, my pulled deck is different, for an example, right? So the final deck that I have and I'm considering, Ceruledge EX. Yes, sir. Came out of Surging Sparks. There's no real set 60 card list, which I enjoy. Because now I can play the cards that I think are good and not have to worry about, well, but this one guy, no. None of that. We are having fun with the deck that I put together. So, Ceruledge, his whole shtick is you want to discard energy as fast as humanly possible. The more energy in the discard, the more damage you do. The more damage you do, well, you cook. We're cooking, Get the apron on. We're Chef Ramsay. We're gonna cook. Because Surging Sparks also released the ace spec that I use in the deck of Brilliant Blender. That's a free 100 damage. Yes, sir. I run 20 energy, 14 fire, 6 fighting. The fighting energy is for a little Pokemon from Gen 5 I like to call Drillbur. It was released in Temporal Forces, so it's a Scarlet and Violet set, so the card's legal. But Dig is an ability that is really fun, because boom, you play it down from your hand to the bench. Then you go and grab 3 fighting energy and you throw them in the discard just for playing the card down. Now I have 6 energy, so most of the time when I get Drillbur, like turn 1, turn 2, I can get that guaranteed 60, because sometimes it could be prize, it could be in my hand. So, I have 6 just so I can get the most out of what I am using it for. Now, for the V-Star ability, when I first put the deck together, I didn't have one. But then, as I run into some matchups, I'm like, okay, well, I need something. I need that little bit of, that little sauce. So I'm like, okay, let's think about it. What would I do? So I have Cans and Cologne to deal with some annoying abilities like Pikachu's Focus Sash or Mimikyu, which, as I think I mentioned it earlier. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here. No EX or Vs can hit it. So I have a card called Counseling Cologne. Boom! It turns off their ability, so I can hit them through it. It's proven me most helpful when I play against like a Miraidon deck that runs that new Pikachu that released. Because boss up, cancel Cologne, get rid of that ability, and swing, making his bench, kind of collapse down. Mine too, technically, but I don't fill my bench that full because I have no reason to. Because I get no benefit from having a full bench. But yeah, no, it's fun because Professor Research, Pokestop. I think Ceruledge is considered turbo, but I'm new to this whole thing, so I'm not too sure on terminologies. I think it's considered turbo, but that versus Raging Bolt, I think I like Cerulege more because it doesn't feel like if I draw a bad hand to start, then I'm just cooked. I feel like I have a chance to, swing back. But when a couple of games of Pulp that I've seen, they'll draw their starting hand, go, oh, this is awful, and then hit the concede button. With Cerulege, it feels like unless I'm really down, there's a chance of winning because no matter, even if I can't like swing on a turn, I can still have multiple ways to discard my energy. And with all of my energy discarded minus a couple, because you need to power the attack of Cerulege, I can do upwards of 350. Somewhere in the 350 range, I'm pretty sure. And that is helpful. Oh yeah, V-Star powers. I mentioned it earlier, never really said what I went with. So I chose for my V-Star power, so I haven't seen any other Cerulege run it, but I think Regidrago V-Star, again, it'll be somewhere over here. I think Regidrago V-Star is the play. It discards the top 7, and then you get to keep 2 on anything from your discard pile. So I think it's helpful to have the ability, like if I use Kansan Cologne, and they just Night Stretch of the Pikachu back, for example. Well, I burn my V-Star, grab the Kansan Cologne, and do the same thing I just did to it the first time, as an example. But yeah, no, so those are the decks that I have built. I have an event coming up. Trying to figure out which deck to actually play. I'm leaning more towards Cerulege because it's seeming a lot more fun. And I also can't get like TM Devo'd because then I'll just, I'm just going to evolve it back, Although TM Devo is kind of a rarer card that I've seen. A few decks that I play against run it, but for the most part it's not common. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. They're leaning more towards Cerulege. But all that being said, we'll see you next time.